Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on Monday again on Green Monday TV to share with you our regular weekly health tips. We want to thank you for keeping on Green Monday TV, and we pray that you continue to watch us to grow the viewership and also to grow the liking of our YouTube channels for Green Monday and for other Uganda. I am Claudia Chumkama. I work for Health, Human Rights and HIV. I'm the Executive Director. AGA is found in Kagoma after Kawempe near Pau Primary School. We are a Health, Human Rights, HIV organization. We create awareness about health. We advocate for increased budget for health. We engage and network with like-minded health providers, with government, with civil society organizations to ensure that we have better health outcomes for our communities. We thank you for listening to us, and we hope whatever we've been sharing over the last 2 years is making a difference in your lives. We have come talking about various topics. We have talked about aging, about malaria, about sexual reproductive health. We have talked about very many things. And this month, this is Menstruation Month, and we would like to share about menstruation. And menstruation, like we said last year, is about the initiation of blood among girls when they are of age, when their hormones have come to play, when you start getting monthly periods. And many of us are lucky to have monthly periods. They come every other 28 days, others get it after 30 days, others get it less days. But if you are getting them, you are lucky. We are also having those who have failed to get menstruation. And it is a problem. If anyone doesn't have menstruation and she's a girl and she's above 18, then there's a problem. So it could be a disease, it could be a complication that you need to go to the health facility to check with the gynecologist and find out why you are not getting menstruation. And like we say, and you know that menstruation begins at around the age of 10 to 16. Most of us actually start around 10 to 16 and stop at around the age of 51 to 65. So the initiation of menstruation is called menarche, and the cessation of menstruation is called menopause. So today I want to talk about menstruation, not the usual for the young women. I want to talk about menstruation within the age groups of 40 to 65. What happens? How do we feel? It is very easy for us to discuss menstruation when we are still young because it's a common discussion. But as we age, we start to be more independent, we start to be alone, isolated, and we don't discuss issues of sexual reproductive health. And one of the challenges we have as older women is that as we age, our hormones, progesterone and estrogen, reduce, and when they reduce, our menstruation starts to cease. So when you reach 40 and above, either the menstruation starts to become heavy or it starts to become less. For me, when I was growing up, it started becoming very heavy and very painful. And I know a number of the other friends of mine who have said when they are in the 40s towards the 50s, the menstruation becomes so painful. So this crap, they tell us that when you grow up, when you deliver, that it will be better. No, it's just luck. Because for me, when I was growing up, I didn't have any cramps, I didn't have any pain. It was the usual, the discomfort was having to carry pads and put on pads for 4 days. But when I grew up in the 40s, I started to have more days of menstruation, and it was heavier, and I would feel sick. We know that a number of people who get menstruation fall sick, they even go for injections, they are on drip because the experience is too painful. And so yes, menstruation is natural. It can only be as natural as it is not painful, as it doesn't cause so much discomfort and that doesn't take you to the hospital. So if you have a now painful period, that is good. if you can go through it with a simple Panadol or take hot water and you feel okay, that is fine. But there are those people who have menstruation that is like somebody is cutting their wound with a knife, or like the thighs are getting off the bones. The pain is so intense that a person can hardly walk. Others vomit and vomit during the period until they stop. So as we age, even when your menses were good as you started, sometimes they change. They will become more heavier, or if you are lucky, they will become less and lighter. You could even start missing months without periods. They are intermittent. So this month you get, and after 2 months you don't get, then you get for 5 months, then it stops. That is towards menopause. That is called perimenopause. Perimenopause is about 2 to 10 years when you are experiencing a period of changes in your hormones in the body, where estrogen and progesterone are reducing, and the menstruation is dependent on these. So if they cease, then the menstruation ceases. So during that time, 2 to 10 years, you are preparing, the body is preparing you for complete cessation of the menstrual period. So other times people have cramps, others don't have. People can vomit, others don't vomit. Others become moody. The mood starts changing because, these hormones, the progesterone and estrogen, are the ones which also stabilize the moods. So person starts becoming moody, either some drop into depression, and it's not an act of their own. But as we age, they say, when we age, we start to become moody. And in my language, they say, when you grow up, oragiremize oba mu Uganda entondo. Oliwa omuntu waakula bagamba afunye entondo. So kakati, that is not their own making. It is because of the changes in the body hormones. So at this age, we are saying 2 to 10 years towards the time you stop menstruation. That is when you are 40 and above. We have seen also those who are stopping menstruation at 29 and 30. But mainly it is above 35 upwards. And commonly 40 to 50. That's when people stop their menstruation. And a few people can actually go to their menstruation up to 65 years. And what does that mean? It means that if you can still get menstruation, you can still get pregnant. So if you are still having menstruation, you have not had a baby, you can still get it even at that time, 50, 60. But once you cease menstruation, it means your ovaries are empty, the eggs are done, you can no longer produce children. So, what do we do? How do we go about these changes in blood? And when we see too much blood that is coming several times in a month, even when it is your menopause, towards menopause, perimenopause, please be wary. Go to the hospital to find out why you could be bleeding too much, and many times it could be fibroids, could be cancer. And also get worried if you get spots, get spotting. During this period, you've been having lots of period, a lot of flow. If you have been having light blood, but all of a sudden you start seeing spots. Or if you go and have sex and you get blood, that is also another pointer for you to go and check. It could be cervical cancer or any other disease that you are experiencing. So oftentimes you just wonder. We don't ask our parents, we don't ask older person, do you still have your periods? Are you in your periods? No, we often assume that if a person maybe is 50, they have ceased, or even we think they are still having periods. We never cease to even think about it. And like I said, as we age and the menopause, we are approaching menopause, our body changes, the hot flashes, we are just there all of a sudden, you find the head up to the breast, the chest area is sweating when everyone is feeling very cold. And we said the mood swings. We talked about the depression that you could be in. And during this period, those who are in relationships or who are married, the sex libido may increase or may reduce, because menstruation is determined by eggs which are still in the ovary, which are driven or move or bring about certain hormones like estrogen and progesterone that manage our body moods, protect our bones, protect our heart, protect our brain. But when we age, the eggs reduce, the hormones reduce, and therefore we are prone to several diseases at this age. That's why you see around, even our balance by the way reduces. That's why you hear a lot of slippery on the floor. And these days we have these tiles which are finishing people. See, our balance gets reduced. You realize that a number of people are dying in the bathroom because the balance and the tiles are not things that we should take for granted. We should be very, very careful. So as we age, as we start menopause or prepare for menopause, those 2 to 10 years when your mood starts to swing, your period starts to change, you get more cramps or less cramps, you stop, you get intermittent periods. We need to be careful, and we see how we manage this process. We start to see mood swings, we start beating the children or quarreling a lot. It's not because people love to quarrel, but as we age, the hormones that moderate moods have reduced, and therefore we get exposed to getting moody, to getting sad, to easily getting into and dropping into depression, especially if we don't have company, if we don't do exercises, if we are not occupied. And people used to think that when people are in menstruation, they are evil. Even like now, some of our religions do not allow people in menstruation to even go to pray, or even they use all sorts of excuses to say that a person in their periods, they are very unclean. But how can a person be unclean when they are undergoing a process of bringing to life a person? I just don't understand how people think, how they use even to place it in situ that a person who is in periods is unclean. If you are in a period, you are the most cleanest because you are the most healthy. Because people who don't get periods or who have never gotten periods in their lives are sick. But if you're having your menstruation, you are very healthy. It means you can actually sire a child and bring a life, and you continue the reproductive journey if you're so interested. So what are some of the other comments that people used to have about periods? When I grew up, no one ever knew. I never used to talk about it during my school days. No, I would be so hiding. Even when I'm sick, I don't even say that I feel pain. I don't even say that I'm having periods, because I felt an embarrassment. I felt it like if I said about it is really, because the society has portrayed it as unclean, you feel like you are unclean. But to tell you the truth, it is part of your life journey, part of your growth, and therefore we need not to be ashamed or embarrassed about it. What is embarrassing is that some of our parents, some of our teachers, some of our government, the government is not providing pads and sanitary towels to students, especially those who cannot afford, so that they can stay in school. That is the embarrassment, that is the shame on any government, and especially in governments where we have female leaders who are heading the ministries of health, who are heading the ministries of education. They should by now know that it is one of the most important aspects for keeping girls in school. Because if they don't have pads, they cannot come to school. It means when they miss school, they will lose out. So as feminine leaders, as female leaders and heads of institutions, and we are working with young women and girls, let's see that they are able to pass through their menstruation without embarrassment, without mapping. Even if they did mapping, that is when the blood seeps out to the dress and can be seen. So what? It happens. Just like if you're taking tea and drops on your dress, on your shirt, on your breasts, why not? It happens. Things happen. Like you wake up and you had a wet dream. That is how periods happen. You can also map. So why should we even think that it's an embarrassment for girls and women to have periods? And like I said, it is not only for the young women and girls. We are talking about women and girls, but we'd like to continue the season of menstruation from menarche to menopause. We shouldn't just be talking about periods in the first year. Periods continues until 60. How do people respond and engage when they are in their periods? Who is planning for us? What are the challenges that come with menstruation? For the young ones and even the older ones, you go to hospital. But how can we manage the side effects of menstruation? The period pains, the cramps, the irritability, the fatigue that comes with it, the hot flashes that comes with towards the cessation of this period. The heaviness that is irritating, that you must pay for a monthly cost of several packs of pads, that some of us don't even know how to make reusable pads. The lack of knowledge and skills on how to make reusable pads. The lack of information about the importance of hygiene. Because we do know that if we don't take care of our menstrual hygiene, we are likely to get pelvic inflammatory infections, because if our pads are not clean, if we are keeping the same pad for long because you don't have what to use to change, we know that it causes some infections. We know that if you have like HPV and it is always damp, you are likely to affect your cervix. You could have cervical cancer. You could have infections that come during this period. You can even have burning of that part because you are using the same pad for a long time, or you don't even have information about how to use pads that you're supposed to use it just less than 6 hours and you throw it away, whether it has got blood or not. Once it has been on your body, in your pant for 6 hours, remove it, change it. How many of us have this information? How many of us believe or understand that people get period sickness? They be sick for the 6 days they have in their periods. They get injections. They get treatment. They cannot get out. They can hardly get out of their beds. Others have to be admitted. And each month it happens, everybody knows so and so is in period, and there is no shame about it. So that's why we are saying that we together for a period-friendly world. Because you know that periods are the ones that bring on board this generation. If we don't have periods, it means we don't have eggs to shed, and therefore we shall not produce. We shall not recreate or reproduce our children. So we need to ensure that we have a lot of investments in period hygiene. Because when we have good period hygiene, we are sure that we have good offsprings. We have our young women and girls who are clean, who are disease-free. We know that if our governments deliberately invest in menstrual hygiene, our girls will remain in school, they finish the school, they won't be dropping out because they don't have pads. But we do know that those who are aging need support. How do we continue to talk about menstruation? And even menstruation like I'm talking about for the older persons. And we have said the 2 to 10 years towards the period when a person is going to stop menstruation, certain changes happen. That you have very heavy blood, or you may have very little blood. You could skip months of periods you don't get. We could have consistent, and then after some time it goes. Mood swing, and people become irritable because the hormones, the estrogen and progesterone, is changing, it's reducing, and we know it is the one responsible for mood stabilization and balance. So when it starts going, that's what happens. The cramps which come, we know we have to get the painkillers, hot water bottles to place on our wounds, try to do exercises. Yes, it is manageable. Just from childhood up to, from menarche to menopause, menstruation is manageable. But first of all, we must have the pads or sanitary towels that we require to use. We must have the social support around us, not the shame, not the embarrassment that somebody mapped and everybody is laughing. No, we must have the support to go through our periods and to allow our children and our friends and people to talk about their periods when they are in their periods, that they talk about it. We also need to understand that if the irritability, the mood swings, we have started becoming demented, that we need to go to the hospital. Sometimes taking contraception helps to balance and stabilize the periods and also reduce the cramps. But also know that you can go to hospital and you get guidance on what to do. If you are approaching menopause and there is too heavy bleeding, you can go and do an abdominal scan to see if you could have fibroids, because fibroids are synonymous with very heavy bleeding, especially among the older women. Go and check. But you also know that if you have, for instance, stopped bleeding and all of a sudden you see bleeding coming back, it could be a sign, a symptom of cervical cancer. Go to the hospital. You also do know that sometimes this could also be, you could find that you get blood after sex, even when you are towards menopause. Go and check. It could be a disease, it could be cervical cancer, it could be another pelvic inflammatory infection. Let's not just think that the period cramps and the pain we get during the periods is only period cramps. Let us keep checking. Do laboratory tests to check if we are actually not having other infections besides the period cramps. You can think it is period cramps when we actually have infections that need treatment. And as we age, of course, we need to continuously look out for our mood stability. If we find we are getting so irritable, we are starting to be an angry lot, let us look for a counselor. Let us do regular exercises. By the way, exercises, these days in Kampala and in town, we don't do exercise, but I know in the village they dig, they walk, and these days we have come with border. By the way, border will be our days. Because even when you have your periods and you do exercise, you walk, you get some relief. The cramping reduces. But a number of us, we get out of the bed, we go into the car, we get out of the car, we sit in the office, we get from the office into the car, back home, and we never have time to do exercise. So even we are told scientifically that exercises help to stabilize hormones, they also help to stabilize mood, because the toxicity, the irritability all goes when you exercise. And we try to exercise. But as we conclude on this discussion, we need to remember that from the moment we start periods to the time we end periods, we have challenges, we have things to think about that are good. That when you are menstruating, it means you are healthy and you are fertile, and therefore you can produce babies. But we also know that if you have hygiene periods and menstruation, where you are clean, you have a lot of water. Many of our schools don't even have running water. You need water to clean very well when we go to the bathroom to change. We need clean water. We must be clean because we want to ensure that our cervix, that our vagina, our uterus are protected from infections that come through menstrual and hygienic practices. Sometimes even keeping those pads for long, people smell and people start to shun you. So it's important that we start looking at menstrual hygiene right from the moment we start to all of us who are aging, because we can think that we are aging, we won't have menstruation, mine is light, but you will be surprised that even when it was light, I started to be heavy. So it's been a nice chat with you, sharing with you. This is International Menstrual Month, and we are saying together for a period-friendly world. And last month it was about International World Health Day, and the theme was my health, my health, my right. And we are saying my health, my menstruation, my responsibility, and our responsibility. Let us take care of our menstruation hygiene. Let us take care of our bodies and ensure that we keep clean. And I continue to remind you to visit our YouTube channel at Green Monday or Aga Uganda, but also that we can be found at Kagoma. If you need to have a physical chat, if you need counseling, if you need to talk about health, if you need to discuss advocacy within your district, within the government, talking about the budget that are being allocated, how can we join hands to ensure that we have more resources and ensure that we have more resources going to investment in menstrual hygiene, and that our government can provide menstrual sanitary towels for our young women and ensure that we remain safe and we keep in school. We thank you once again, and we thank the Green Monday team who are behind the cameras, Jackson and your team, and we thank the managers and everyone at Green Monday, and also thank the people at AGA who have made this possible.